Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, welcome to a very special edition of This is a Revolution, episode number 45. I will get this correct now, Dave. I'm back on track with my episode numbers. I'm here, as always, with my good friend, Mr. Dave the Mark, to bring you a very special interview. Dave, how are we?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, mate. I'm good. It's not quite as bright and sunny as it was last week, but I'll take it. I'm quite enjoying the springtime positivity that is coming, and I'm looking forward to a couple of weeks off work coming up and quietly enjoying a couple of weeks downtime from RevPro. I like the way it was timed after Epic Encounter, so you can kind of soak it all in before we get on the road to high stakes and J Cup and Rumble and like so much stuff coming up.
Yeah,
recharging batteries.
Absolutely, and I think we likened it, didn't we, to end of the season kind of football vibes, and that's exactly what it felt like. It felt like we were left on a cliffhanger in a multitude of ways. But of course, we don't let a little RevPro downtime stop us, do we? We carry on.
Opportunity arises.
Yes, so it's like, well, what are we going to do? So, guys, it was really, really cool for us because we've reached out to a few people for these couple of weeks. We had two people in mind, and both of them have come back to us say yes, they would love to join us for an interview. So virtually, I would love you all to welcome the one, the only Kanji. Kanji, hello. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast tonight. It's an absolute honour. I know when Dave and I were talking about guests that we would love to have on here and dreamed of having on here, you were definitely one of the top guests we had. So I appreciate you joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks.
No problem. So you know what? I'm just going to jump straight into it and just say a couple of things. So Dave talked there about Epic Encounter and standing in the ring after that match with Deonna Purrazzo. As I've said, and a lot of people know, the reason I bought a ticket was for that match. Standing there after that match, everyone just cheering, and then that video comes on, and it suddenly becomes everyone's dream match becomes official for high stakes, you versus Mercedes Mone. How did that feel in that moment, actually seeing that on screen and hearing the reaction from everyone?
I think because it's been talked about for so long, like it was such a huge announcement when she because this is all started from when she actually did that promo in the ring when she was with Mina about saying I want those belts. So I think it's all stemmed from there. So I feel like it's been in our minds since that point, which was a while ago. And then obviously with the story unfolding and names being thrown around and it's been talked about a lot, for it to actually come out on stage there for the first time and it actually felt real, like it's actually happening now. So I think it just really hit me like, oh my God, it's not even just words anymore. It's not even just an idea. It's real, like it's happening. And it's just crazy to think that she's stood there, she's filmed this, she knows my name. Like that's crazy. I just couldn't believe it. Do you know what I mean? And then the response of everyone, that lots of people just stood up and started chanting that I deserve it. And I think that really touched my heart because I really didn't expect anything like that.
You looked really
so I think
emotional.
that was the thing that actually made me cry. It was that the audience chanting that got me.
Yeah, I can imagine, because one of the things Dave and I touch on a lot with wrestling, and we're obviously doing it from a viewer side, but we all have these ideas of what we think can happen. But until, like you said, it's actually out there and it's real, like even if something seems the logical way, there's a multitude of reasons why you might not be able to do something. So for them to it actually be out there, it's like, right, we can stop kind of saying this is what we think is logical here. And yeah, and I imagine as well, because obviously it was in the Midlands as well, so it's Kanji country as well. So yeah, it was just such an incredible moment. I think I said to Dave, my favourite moment of being at Epic Encounter was actually that. It wasn't even so much the matches that we had, loads of great matches, but to be there to experience that reaction from the crowd, I think was incredible. So yeah, in the ring must have just been insane to feel all that from everyone.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like nothing I've felt before. It was
And
very
on the
nice.
back of wrestling Deonna Purrazzo, right? Like, which
Yeah.
is such a cool moment in itself. I remember when, so George and I talked about Epic Encounter. I'd got tickets. You had something on, didn't you? So you weren't going to be able to go.
Yeah.
And then Andy sent me the match graphic of you and Deonna for me to post on the RevPro Instagram channel. And I never tell George anything before it comes up on before it breaks. But I just text him saying you're going to want an Epic Encounter ticket, and that was literally like it. Then just popped up, and he replied about 2 minutes later saying got one.
I love that. Oh,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's genuinely
so cool.
that. I've talked about this before, and I sometimes question if people believe me or not, but I promise it's completely genuinely true. Whenever I watch somebody on TV that I enjoy watching, like American wrestler, Japanese wrestler, I always think, I wonder who they'd wrestle if they came to the UK. Who would I want to see them wrestle? Who do I think would give them the best match? And they make up my RevPro dream matches.
Cool.
And I fell in love with Deonna Purrazzo when she was Impact Knockouts champion, and she was doing all her stuff with Mickie James, which I think was 2022. And I remember then watching it, thinking, oh, I'd really like to watch her wrestle Kanji. And to like wait 3 years on has just been, because I think you were, when I first started going to RevPro shows, you were at that point like what I considered to be like your first entry from when you were the Queen of Southside champion. And then it was your comeback from that. So the women's championships at the time were very much you, Alex Windsor, Danny Luna, and Sky Smithson. And everything kind of worked around you four. And you would like just the one immediately where it was just like, there's something about you, mate. Like people just connect with you, they warm to you. I love your style of wrestling. And I just thought, what a technical little war you and Deonna could have. And that's exactly what we got.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy you say that, because that must mean you found out that I was wrestling her before me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know until I saw it on the internet. Until I saw
Honestly, it's one of the weirdest little things in the world. Is often I think Andy Quilden is obviously the first person to know anything, and then often between me and Craig Armand are like the second and third people to know anything. And it's this weird little like responsibility that I've managed to get just by basically saying, I love RevPro. Anything I could ever do to help, like, let us know. And Andy was just like, any good with Instagram? I'm rubbish at it. I was like, I'll give it a go. I was like, cool, sure, hit login. Crack on.
That's cool. That's
literally
cool.
it, yeah. So from like, I think since the British J Cup of the year before last, because I remember going to it and Robbie X coming up to me and being like, dude, are you now in charge of the Instagram channel? It's like, yes, mate, I am. Like, oh, wicked. Like, it's been dead for years. So, like, good that someone's going to take charge of it. And I was like,
yeah.
Robbie X knows who I am. This is weird.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that is bad, though. Because that's why I love them. No, nobody will know this, but during Epic Encounter, Andy messaged me the match graphic, the Instagram, because there's the graphics that go up on Twitter and they're sized a certain way, and then there's the graphics that go up on Instagram. And he messaged me the Kanji versus Mercedes match graphic. And when Kanji was on merch, I went up to show her the graphic. And it was like the first time you'd seen that version of it. And what I loved at that point was that it had already, I think I posted it on Instagram whilst I was waiting to talk to you. Like you were chatting to somebody in front of me. And in the time from when I posted it on Instagram to when I got to speak to you, Mercedes had seen it, accepted the collaboration, and like literally like the likes and the shares are just going mental because anything she touches just goes crazy.
Yeah, yeah. That was wild because I can't believe when you showed me that because I thought that was the first time I'd seen it. Because at that point I hadn't even seen the one on Twitter. That's the only thing I seen, and I was like, that looks so sick. Like
Yeah.
it's so cool to actually see like the graphic is out there, it's happening, the date is set, it's done.
You're
And I
literally
think I
talking
prefer
about
that
like
one.
a WrestleMania main eventer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like George was talked last week about the fact that he saw Sasha Banks in front of like 80,000 people
Yeah.
in where is it in Texas? Was it, mate?
Dallas, Texas, AT&T Stadium, WrestleMania 32.
Which is, and then like the next time he sees Doncaster Dome, undisputed British Women's
Doncaster
Championship
Dome.
wrestling Kanji,
That's
like
wild.
it's so
That is
wild.
so wild. It is. I saw that she was at Hog
Yeah,
in America. So I saw that match with Indy Hartwell, and I just find it crazy that she's on the independent scene.
yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
just find it so insane. That
I love the
it's
fact that she
like
takes all four belts with her wherever she goes.
yeah. And I
Like
was
she
like the other
reps all
day,
those companies at the same time.
yeah, and it's just so nice to see that she's showing that um all these other promotions, just because they're not on a big TV screen and got so much money, doesn't mean that they don't deserve the 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 presentation, I guess,
Yeah,
or
Mm.
the recognition, because all
Yeah.
these little companies that she's working for has such talented wrestlers that put their life and their health on the line constantly, which is something that she's done her whole life, well, majority of her life. So it's just so nice to see that she recognizes that. It's so nice, and it's crazy that it was the other week when she posted a picture of the great Carly holding the belts. I was like, that's insane.
Yeah.
such like one of those images that you just can't ever imagine.
No,
Like that's just
the
so
great
it's
Carly.
so kind of surreal that you just can't fathom
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
We were doing that
Because I
around
was
Christmas,
every
weren't
time
we?
I
Talk
see
about
it.
it.
Sorry.
No, carry on.
Um, yeah, every time I see it, whether she's got it or someone else, or whether it's in a different ring, I always point to the Southside bar and I says, "That's been in my house." I just find that's insane. I was like, "Great, Carly's holding a belt that's been in my house."
How much does that part of the championship, like, how much does that mean to you? Because I think like there's a lot of people that still don't fully understand the history of the two belts and the
Mm,
unification of them, but they're still both like presented. How much
yeah,
does it mean something to you that that belt is still part of it? Because
yeah,
for me, you're synonymous with it.
yeah. Oh, really? That's
I
nice. I
always
love
think of
that.
you as being the Queen of Southside.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Um, I really hope, like, I know that a unification has been spoken about since RevPro and Southside came together, which is understandable. But I think the longer we keep it here, the more I feel like I don't want that belt to ever go. Um, just because it holds so much history for Southside and the wrestlers that came from Southside. Um, and I think it does hold a huge story now because it's been with us for so long in RevPro. I think it does hold um its own status, I feel. Especially now she's holding both of them. I think my idea would be for him to keep both belts and never unify them, but have them as two separate belts.
Yeah,
So there'd be a story for the Southside belt as well as a story for the Rev Pro belt, and have the Rev Pro belt as like a World Women's Championship, and the Southside one as, call it something else, but like
Mm.
keep that belt as something different. Um,
it's interesting
Especially
because
how
that's
like the
like
whole world's seen it now.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and going back to like when I first started attending Rev Pro shows, it that's kind of you had the two belts and you had the two champions and you had
Yeah,
but it was like looking back on it, I'd imagine the unification would have probably come earlier had it not been for the fact that you'd picked up a couple of injuries, Alex had picked up a couple of injuries, and so therefore the inevitable Kanji versus Alex Windsor match could just kept on. Life kept getting in the way. But it did mean that, you know, Sky Smithson had a great run with the belt, and Danny Luna had a great run with the belt, and that's just from my limited experience. The friends that I've made that have been going to RevPro and Southside shows for years earlier tell me all about the old Southside shows, and it's got its whole lineage and its whole history to itself there, and it's been absorbed into RevPro, but it still lives on by the fact that that belt still lives on.
Yeah, definitely. And I think because Southside had such a strong women's division when Southside was here, I think it would be such a shame to never see that belt again. When you think the likes of like even Melina wrestled for the belt, and you had Kaylee Ray and so many fantastic female wrestlers was on the scene wrestling for that belt. So many fantastic tournaments that he had on for the belt, like the Queen of the Ring series. I think it would be such a shame to get rid of it or to unify them and then never see that belt again. But I think the company Southside meant a lot to so many, not just fans, but also workers. And I think I feel like that's the only thing we have left to cling on to, I guess.
It's interesting because Andy always talks about the fact that it's the champion's prerogative as to whether or not they carry both belts or whether they just carry the RevPro Women's Championship. So when you take the belts off Mercedes Mone, they'll be yours to do what you want with. What an incredible sentence that is.
When? But I mean, it's interesting that you say that because she's holding both belts.
Yeah.
So she's taken it on as herself that both of those belts are worthy enough to hold, which I believe they are as well. So it's really nice.
I would agree with that. And I think as well, one of the things that we noticed last year with the RevPro Women's Division is how much that's now expanded, right? Like the Cutthroat Collective, that moment, Danny and Rio main eventing that night, and then everything kind of happened. There has been that explosion in the women's division, and we're seeing so many talented women now coming in, getting their shot, and it feels like the division could have a second title, and like you said, have your world title, and then have the title for the up and comers, the people that are there to make a name for themselves and bring themselves up.
Yeah, possibly. I think it's a really good idea. And I do think that Andy has this idea of, because I think he really likes the idea of having your experienced wrestlers as well as putting on matches where you have your less experienced wrestlers to come up and learn from the more experienced ones, so that when the experienced ones move on to bigger things, we have a solid foundation of wrestlers that are able to carry the scene as well as bring the newer ones up. So the industry and British wrestling is constantly and consistently staying strong. So I think that's why it's so nice that he's constantly building, especially the women here in the division.
Yeah.
So interesting that you say that, because an opponent of yours that I think is you're developing a real kind of legacy rivalry with, despite the fact that she fits perfectly into that example of what you were just talking about, is Sapphire Reed.
I knew you were going to say that.
The battles that you two have had over whether it was pre-Cutthroat Collective or post, because obviously you had a run with her before she joined before the Cutthroat Collective formed, which culminated in the 2 out of 3 falls match at the 229 at the start of last year. And then she went on to fight Danny Luna at High Stakes, because effectively that ended up being a #1 contenders match. But that legacy has just carried on, and the match that you guys had in the 229, was it the last month? Was just
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
one of those matches. George and I were sitting. He was sitting directly behind me, so I'd literally just kind of lean back in my chair and just we'd have like little words at different points. And the minute it started, we were just like, "This is gonna be great! Like this is gonna be absolutely a bit of us. This is
a bit of us. This,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, piss and vinegar.
I love that.
And technical wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah. I think she's great, and I think we do have natural great chemistry together. So it's really exciting whenever I get put in a match with her. So I was quite happy that he's brought me and her back together after that little feud that we had before. Because I just think it's a waste of chemistry to not revisit. I feel.
Yeah. I completely agree. Yeah. It feels like you have, and I sound like I'm just kind of like blowing smoke, but it feels like you have like natural chemistry with everybody that you're put in the ring with.
Yeah.
Like the matches that you've had this year, whether it was like LA Taylor, who was making her first RevPro appearance for a couple of years, Sky Smithson coming in for the first time in sort of 18 months, or whether it's Sapphire Reed, who's used to RevPro and working RevPro regularly. Like every single match that you have just feels like you connect with these women so seamlessly and naturally. The one that got me was the Sky Smithson match, because I couldn't believe it. That was the first time ever singles match, right?
Yeah. I can't believe it. It's been this long.
It's like, how have you guys kind of circled each other so much, but never faced one-on-one? And it was so worth the wait. I feel like she's one of the most underused in terms of like the women that RevPro could pull in that have got history with the company. She's so underutilized.
I agree.
I think for me last year, I think for me in last year as well, like, and I think about the kind of, Dave mentioned earlier, the rise of Kanji, and I think last year was just a career year for you with like the level of opponents you're having, and as Dave said, the chemistry and the output from all of that. I don't have many matches that I say I wish I was there for or regret not going to a show for. You versus Stephanie Vaquer was that match that I
really
that was one of the two matches last year that really opened my eyes to Kanji. So coming to shows and I'd see your matches, I'd be like, Kanji's great, but actually getting to, as Dave would say sometimes, actually study the matches and really watch. And it was that one and Nina Sammy was at Progress in January. They are the two matches that really grabbed me last year. But then from then on, I was on the Kanji train the whole way, and any match of yours that got announced was a must-see for me. But yeah, those were the two matches that really grabbed me last year, and the consistency throughout the year when Dave reeled off a bunch of opponents there, and there's still loads more that we can say. It's the level of people we've gone up against this year. How does that kind of feel for you, knowing that when these big names are brought over you, Steph Vaquer's, your Serena Deebs, that Andy trusts you to go out there and have that match with
them? I feel like when it happens, I question why me all the time. Even now, I just keep thinking like, why me? Out of like, you've got Alex Windsor over there, you've got Danny Luna who's in TNA, like taking over the world, you know, and you've even got Rio. So I always sit here and I think, why me? It's a lot of pressure, and I'm so grateful for it. And I welcome it every time if he gives me anybody, even if it's just someone who's not like a huge name on the independent scene. Just giving me the opportunity to wrestle is enough for me. But to put me in with names like that, like he will always say to me, it's like he will always say like how good he thinks I am and how much of how impressed he is with my ability to just in certain things like selling and just like little bits that he likes, like he likes my strikes and my commitment to everything that I do. And he just keeps saying to me that the next step for me is for me to believe myself and to believe that I can do it. I am that good. But I don't know what it is. There's just something that still I'm all constantly questioning, why me? But for him to keep putting me in these opportunities is absolutely wild to me. But I think the fact that I just love wrestling and I love to wrestle, I love getting creative. So I love to step in the ring with someone different and see how their brain works in comparison to mine. So we're constantly bouncing ideas off each other to create something completely different that you wouldn't see in a match with me and say, for instance, me and Rio is going to have a completely different match, a completely different story to me and Deanna. So I always look out for those differences in character and their moveset and their style. So it's almost like a completely different book you're reading, even though you've got one character the same, the story is completely different. And I just find that so interesting that we have the ability to do that. But with the Stephanie match, I was so out of my comfort zone in that match. I've never been so nervous in my life and unprepared with
Opening
the
the show as
situation
well,
we
right?
was in. Yeah. And I think we was like getting ready and everything, and we'd been in the ring a little bit beforehand to like feel each other out, to see how we work, kind of. And then we went backstage and we were just getting ready, and she knew we was on first, but I think she was expecting the start of the show to be a lot longer than it actually was, because I think in Mexico the show, you have like hours before the show starts. So she's getting ready and she's thinking she's got hours, and actually she hasn't. She's got half an hour or 45 minutes. So when they come and say, oh, it's meet and greet now, she's like, no, I can't, I'm not ready. And then it was like, the show starting in 15 minutes and we've got nothing. Like, all we've got is what we just played around with in the ring when we were just having a play. And then it's like, we've got to go.
Nuts.
Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
I'm like, my music is playing and Amira is always there at the curtain so she can hype me up for my music, and we'll sing to each other my music. And she's there like, come on, let's do the song. And I was like, Amira, I don't have a match. I was like, I don't know I do not have a match. We have nothing. And then she's there, come on, you're fine. And we do the dance and I just go out there and I'm like, oh my gosh, please help me. And we just went out there and just communicated in wrestling terms. And we just wrestled, and that was it.
There's a language barrier as well there, right?
Yeah. So we didn't say a word to each other in the ring. We didn't say a word. We just felt it and wrestled.
But
it's insane how we actually got through that.
Because now, like, everyone that watches this video who hasn't seen that match needs to go and watch it.
Yeah.
And realise what you've just described and then compare it to what they're watching, because it was class.
Yeah.
Like, it was the best match on that show.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you're talking about a show with like Mystico and Gabe Kidd and Grizzled Young Veterans and Templario and like all these like awesome people. And you've got two amazing wrestlers in yourself and Steph Vaquer, but you're also talking about the fact that you're wrestling in less than what you would call ideal circumstances.
Yeah.
To be able to put on a match that good.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I don't know how we did it, but when I left the ring, I walked down the side and Andy was stood there with his like headset on, and I walked past him and I just said, I'm so sorry, because I thought it was so bad. I thought I did such a bad job because I wasn't prepared. And then he looked at me, he's like, what? But I was like, I'm so sorry, and walked off. And then at the end of the show, I spoke to him and he said, you got nothing to sorry for. He goes, that was great. That was great. And that's all he said. He didn't give me any feedback or anything. That was it. And then other people around were saying, no, it was really good, and everything. So, but I didn't really believe it. And then so many people online were saying how good it was and everything like that. So I was like, maybe it wasn't too bad. Hopefully, like, no one saw the little bits that I was so critical of in there. And then when I watched it back, I did think, oh, actually, I don't even know how that happened, but everything looked so smooth. We just did it.
Are
So I
you your
shocked
biggest
myself in
critic?
that. Yeah, which I think isn't a bad thing. But I think definitely when I watched it back, I surprised myself in that one.
Yeah. It
Um,
shows you
and I
care,
just hope
right?
she was. Yeah, yeah, I think so. And I think she was saying afterwards that in Mexico they don't plan much at all. Um, a lot of it is you just talk out there and you just wrestle. Um, so I'm hoping she did say that she was really happy with it, and she has spoken to Amira apparently afterwards. She's speaking to me. Amira said that she was actually really happy with it, and would love to do
That's
it
amazing.
again.
Oh, we'd love
So
to see round two
she,
of that again.
Oh God, yeah.
I would love it. I would love
Like
it.
we're talking you again. You're talking about a wrestler that you faced who is like breaking boundaries in other parts of the world. You know, she's the
Yeah,
first ever double champion in NXT. Defended
Hmm.
both of
yeah,
her championships against two different opponents on the same show last night. Like,
Hmm.
which again
yeah,
is an enormous responsibility because you're you're giving up of a 2 hour TV show, you're giving up two full matches, the
Yeah.
opening show and the main
yeah,
event to one wrestler. You have to have
yeah,
enormous amount of faith in that wrestler to be able to connect with the crowd and entertain
yeah,
and keep people tuned into that TV channel. Um,
yeah,
insane talent, but it's I always find it so surreal when I talk to you because you are so genuinely humble, but also just you just don't seem to see yourself in the on the same level as these people. Yet
Hmm.
everyone else, literally all Rev Pro fans praise you to the heavens. Um, I get the
Yeah.
privilege of talking to people like Andy Quilden and Craig Armand, like behind the scenes, and they literally all they ever say is great things about you. Like
Yeah.
you are,
yeah.
I refer to you as the standard in British women's wrestling, and obviously
Wow.
I'm, I kind of feel like I'm a bit of a unique view into wrestling, but also I'm one where I'm watching. It's almost like my view is through glasses because I only see RevPro. So I bet there are loads of brilliant women's wrestlers in British wrestling that I've just not I've never seen because they've never come through RevPro.
Mm,
But I see
yeah.
everybody in RevPro, and I see every
Mm,
single one of their matches, and I it's like it's my obsession, it's my passion. I love watching all the fine details. And you talked about not about Andy saying to you about believing your own hype a little bit more and believing yourself. I feel like in the
yeah.
last probably 9 months that in ring you are coming across more confident and with a little bit more of where that kind of confidence meets self belief and meets kind of, and then you create presence and aura.
Hmm.
And
Mm,
I feel like that's been there. Certain part of it might be the fact that you've had big matches and you've matched those people.
Yeah.
But then it's also on the smaller stages as well, whether it's in the 229 or whether it's in Sheffield Network, and you've got a smaller crowd and it's a more kind of intense environment. You've got this. You fill a room when you walk out, and the
oh
whole
wow.
energy of the room lifts, and you can physically feel it. You can feel it
Mm,
around from everybody. You get the vibe, like business is picking up, and it's every single show.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Agreed.
That's crazy. Thank you.
And that can be tough sometimes, right? With those smaller, quieter venues where sometimes when you're watching on TV, we speak about this quite a lot, that it's hard because the venues maybe aren't mic'd in a certain way that creates a lot of noise, but you do create this presence. I mean, for me, one of the times I noticed it was Maiden Voyage for Chaos last year. So I was there for that show, and you were everywhere, and like literally like creating that buzz, creating that, and you just draw people in. I've joked with Dave and said I think that the fan connection, just that, I think you say you don't know why people gravitate towards you, but I think it is that earnest, that genuine. You just have that connection with people because I think they probably see a bit of themselves and what they would like to do in you as well, and what you're bringing. I've said to Dave on here before that actually for me you're the British Ricky Steamboat, in the way that people like just gravitate towards you in that kind of way.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you. I think it's really important that as wrestlers, we do show the fact that, we're just normal human beings. So I think it's okay to come out of character, especially as a babyface, I think. As a babyface, I think it's really important that you show those realistic emotions through stories, as well as, those little moments when you're walking into a ring and when you're actually in the ring. So like even at Resurgence the other day, I had a match with Charles Crowley, and the story was that he wants to try and he wanted the championship off me, but he wanted to like trick me into thinking that like I'm not worthy, almost. And his aim was to break me in the match, and for me to really lose my temper. And I said, the thing is like, I think it's a good thing that a babyface is able to show the vulnerability of losing their temper and getting really angry and doing things that is not good. Because everybody in real life, no matter how good you are, there's always a part of you that is a little bit bad and negative. Like I've read books, but
right?
Yeah, it's natural, isn't it? It's just how you use that energy is what makes you good or bad. I've read books from like Gandhi and the Dalai Lama who speak about Hinduism and Buddhism, and they always say like anger is actually such a positive emotion. It's just how you use that anger. And I think through stories of wrestling, you're able to, show that and show how to control your emotions when coming into something that is showing you a bit of injustice. And that's what we wanted to do. I think when you show those humanistic abilities in the ring, it does help an audience and fans relate to you as a person. Even though you're putting it in a story, it's still real, so I think that's so important for us to do.
I found it really interesting when we were in Coventry and you wrestled Lucia Lee, because the dynamic was slightly skewed by the fact that she's from Coventry. And it's funny because I could hear, where I was sat, I could hear Andy on commentary behind me. And when Francesca announced that she was from Coventry, and she was, and then you made your entrance, Andy actually said, well, Francesca's done Kanji no favours there. And it was the first time ever where the crowd weren't supporting you, they were supporting Lucia. Wow. But I got to see a slightly more vicious streak in your work. Just where it was, because being a technical wrestler, that works so well and so easily with a heel character, because it's violent, it's vicious, it can be devastating. You can do something, especially when you do the work that you do on people's arms. It's so easy to see somebody, like, they get to sell it so well. it was really cool to see a little bit of a mean streak in Kanji in that match. Was that something that
Yeah.
you could feel at the time?
Yeah, I was worried about a possible heel turn. And I think because we don't do commentary often, um, and I don't it's not often I wrestle even up in North or the Midlands. I'm always down south. So I think there's a bit of a disconnect with the northern audience anyway. So I was a little bit worried or kind of intrigued to see how they respond to it. Um, with the dynamic of babyface, but obviously with my style of wrestling, it's really difficult to, I think, remain a babyface with my aggressive style against another babyface, because I think the sympathy babyfaces like get the get the support because you have to sympathize with them and you want them to win. But when you're against a really aggressive and dominant babyface with another babyface, they've got to sympathize with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they did sympathize naturally with Lucia from the start because she's the hometown girl. And then obviously the hometown girl's being stretched and pulled apart so much and being kicked so hard, they automatically went straight for her, which I think was nice actually. I really enjoyed that. Um, it
And it would
made
have been
me
an
think in the
absolutely
ring of
awesome
how
moment
to
for
respond.
her as well, wouldn't it?
I think so. I think she really deserves it. I think she's come such a long way. Especially training at New Wave with Flash Webster. I think she's become someone completely different, and
She
her
really
in-ring
has.
ability is amazing. I'm such a big
Yeah.
fan of her.
I would definitely agree with that. I keep saying one of my matches of last year that I rave about to everyone was the match between her and Sapphire at Chaos Maiden Voyage. It was just,
Mm,
you would not believe that the level of experience those two have and the age that they have, and a match
yeah.
to go out there and be what that was. But and I suppose as well that's where you mentioned earlier about how experienced people versus the up and comers, and you can see having matches against people like you, the growth that they're having. So it showed that next generation as well, like the level of the talent and in women's general how it's presented and the opportunities that are given now. In the 20 years that I've been coming to indie shows in the UK, it couldn't be at a higher peak now, and it's so amazing to see. So that's
Mm,
why when you can have this opportunity like a Mercedes coming into a burgeoning scene anyway, and then lift it even higher, that must be incredible. And to be the first face of RevPro to go alongside that again is just such wonderful stuff.
yeah, I think it's a lot of pressure,
Mm.
um, but I think it's about time that especially the women in British wrestling in England deserve some deserve a massive push. And I
Yeah,
think Mercedes Mone is the one that's going to do it, and Rev Pro is the one that's going to hold it. So I think it's
yeah,
it's about time that something happened.
yeah.
So
It
I'm
really
I'm
felt like
I'm so excited.
it was a proper paradigm shift
Mm-hmm.
when June last year, when the Cutthroat Collective, the invasion happened.
Yeah.
I remember it so kind of like I can still can remember exactly what it felt like to be sat. I was on the hard camera side facing the ring, so I've got two coming from behind me, two coming that way, and it was literally like, what the fuck is going on? Because like the Nightshade was kind of like, that makes sense. There was a bit of
Mhm.
something with her and Chantel Jordan and Danny Luna at the previous 229, and then
Yeah.
Sapphire Reed. But then when you see Nina Samuels and Lizzie Evo, it's like, you don't go here. This is different. And then the first people to take a bit of a beating were like Oscar Harding and Chris Hatch, and you're like, okay, right, there's gonna be a bit of a brawl here. But it was
Yeah.
laying their hands on Francesca
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then Sapphire headbutting Sarah Hatch. And it was just like, oh my, like they captured magic in a bottle. And I just remember the next day getting so many messages from fans saying, like, what did you make of that? Like, what's going to happen next? Where's this going? And it was like, I don't know. I honestly don't know. But how cool is it?
Yeah.
And that energy,
so cool.
like, it just kept going and going. And for me, I had this big fear that, and it seems stupid now, but I think it was just the, like, don't drop the ball fear, that the big 5-on-5 at the Copper Box was going to be the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that the Cutthroat Collective would, you defeated the Cutthroat Collective and that would be the end of it. And that their group would splinter off. And we wouldn't see them again. And I think keeping them as a strong unit, letting them win, keeping them because now you've got the championship going in one direction and you've got everything they do going in a different direction. And literally you can just pull in, okay, this week we'll have Lizzie and Sapphire, and next week we'll have Mercedes and Alex. And it just creates so many more opportunities. You've been you had your most prolific year in RevPro last year. And then you've got like Millie McKenzie coming in, Chantel Jordan's come back in, and you've got Lucia taking in the role of the contender and having sort of like regular matches as well. There's so much potential now. It must be as if you were a young women's wrestler outside of RevPro, having never wrestled for RevPro, you'd surely be looking at it thinking, I can see my way in now. Like there's more opportunities for me. And you've been an absolute forefront of that, because every heel faction needs to have the quintessential babyface to like be opposed. And you and Rio were the ones for up until the Copper Box, and then you've maintained it ever since. And it's such it's been so cool to see, but it's also how important for you last year was it to have, like, I hate talking about injuries and things, but you had a full year of touch wood, a healthy year. Did you feel like you were able to, did it take time, I suppose is the question, to feel like you would fully overcome the injuries?
Yeah, because I think every time I've been injured, it's been like I come back and then I get hurt again. So it's never been, I felt for a long time, I've never had a good run of momentum of not being hurt. It's always been like it's building, and then it just stops. Or it's building, I'm getting somewhere, I've got a big opportunity in the sight, and then it's taken away because I'm hurt again. So last year, because it was going so well at the beginning of the year, I was getting somewhere and I was feeling good in myself. In the back of my mind, I'm just thinking something's going to happen soon because this is going too well. And then it was going really well, and then, but it's just really sad that it's just in the back of my mind that something might happen because it's going too well. But obviously, I got through the year luckily with nothing serious. But now I think this is the thing that's playing on my mind now, because it's a big opportunity coming up and I'm just really conscious that I can't get hurt. Before it was, I can't get hurt because I can't go through that pain again, because the pain is, the time off is frustrating and it's horrible just waiting and seeing the world go on and you can't. But with the broken arm injury and the back injury that I had, it was the pain that I felt I can't go through this again, or I can't go for another operation, because it's just, the pain is just not normal. It's not okay. So that is the thing in my mind, that I can't go through that pain again. But now, because there's this huge opportunity coming now, it's just I can't get injured, not because of the pain, but because I can't lose this.
Yeah.
So it's really sad, because as much as you want to push yourself and, stay in the sights of everybody, there's just something in the back of my mind that's saying I need to just be careful. Like, what is the right thing to do? Because I can't lose this. I've worked so hard.
There's such a
But I
fearlessness,
just keep
isn't
thinking,
there, in young
yeah,
wrestlers who have never had to have a prolonged period of time off. And
yeah,
then that mindset must change. Thinking of somebody like a Leighton Buzzard is, George and I will be there to see him wrestle Ricky Knight Jr. in his first match back in pretty
yeah,
much 1 calendar year. And you think that there has to be a change in mindset, because
100%.
especially like injuries like his injury was such a kind of, it could happen to anybody at any moment. It's not
Yeah,
a big mistake. Something went wrong. Took a risk that was one too many. It was too big a risk. It was literally just landing not quite right. Knee twists,
yeah,
and that's
yeah,
it. And there's a year of your life gone.
yeah,
I remember your return to the Gordon Craig Theatre, British J Cup 2023, and you wrestled Alex Windsor. And
yeah,
there's a moment where you make your entrance, you go up onto the turnbuckle, and you look up to the heavens, and
yeah,
you just looked so emotional. And it was like, it looked like, I'm back, I'm home, and I'm doing what I love, because it was you and Alex, which is like the match. It's always been the match. It's always been my favourite one to see. Gordon Craig Theatre, so back in Southside territory. And
yeah,
like, after, I think it had been close to a year at that point.
yeah,
So
I think it had, yeah.
it's, are these moments which have stayed with you, or are they moments that you feel in the moment and then just you have to push on from?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's strange because I think the build up to the actual match or to the actual opportunity is the thing where your mind gets in the way, and you really have to kind of listen to everyone around you that's saying you're going to be fine. But then once you're in the ring, you just feel like nothing ever went wrong.
Yeah.
And it's just natural, it's normal. You are at home. And I think especially being in there with someone like Alex Windsor, even though the pressure was there because I've been wanting that match since she came back from injury, well, even before she made her big return, I've been wanting that match. So it was a massive deal for me, but because she's such an amazing person, and she just loves wrestling, and she loves talking about wrestling, and she loves being with the girls and talking to the girls. She's just a friend, do you know what I mean, as well at the same time. So for me to come back and have that match with her, which I've been wanting for a long time, everything, all the worries just go out of your head, and you're just there in that moment, and you just love it. And it's not until after the match is finished where you think, oh my gosh, I am fine, actually. Like, I can do it. There's nothing wrong. I can do it. It's fine. And then that's when you start thinking, you start thinking in your head, like, oh, I'm so grateful for the support network that I have, and the belief that you have in yourself. That's when it all comes back after the match, when it's finished and you've done it.
Yeah.
That's something that so many
Crazy.
people would be able to resonate with, isn't it? That
I think so.
the amount of kind of overthinking torture that we put ourselves through in the build up to something that's important to us. And then you experience actually the event, whatever it is, and then afterwards have that feeling of, what was I worried about in the first place? But then we do it all again the next time.
Yeah.
It's this kind of really torturous part of the human condition, isn't it? Of how much meaningful events mean to us and how much we overthink them. And the second thing, that match was absolutely awesome. And that is one of my favourite RevPro events of all time. You think you got the J Cup, you got Leon Slater's big J Cup win, and then the 3 matches that they put on to fill out the card were you and Alex Windsor, Luke Jacobs and RKJ beating the shit out of each other, and Gabe Kidd versus Michael Oku for the Undisputed British Heavyweight Championship. That felt like Andy Pullen flexing his muscles to the absolute extremes, that show, and I was all here for it.
What a show. Yeah, what a show. It's
really
insane.
Shows the quality, doesn't it, of what the scene has got now. And like I said, I was speaking with Dave about this again 20 years ago. I was going to shows where you had to rely on the American imports because that was what drew people. Now you can put cards out and you can put RevPro names on there, and it's no longer the imports that are selling the shows necessarily. They're the big matches that we want to see our people have. And one of the things that we've touched on quite a lot actually, and I've noticed in where it's talk about when you've come back from injury and kind of the feeling of how you've got to get through, or some of the matches, is pressure, right? The pressure seems to be one of those things. So knowing that obviously people want to see you guys as the faces, like you're not necessarily the one that we're going to buy a ticket for this person and they're facing Kanji. It's like, no, Kanji's going to be in this really great match against this person. One of the ones that we talked about, and I'd love to hear your take on it, was you versus Serena Deeb. Because there was a lot of things there that we spoke about, was that obviously it was you against someone from AEW who'd been on AEW TV, WWE TV, really highly touted in the style that she does. You also had someone who stylistically really matched up with you, so there's a lot of expectation there as well. But obviously it was both a women's match starting the show and also a very technical kind of match, which are not normally the matches that open shows. So I wonder like how kind of all of that felt, because for us watching it, it was the perfect start to the show, and despite being a technical match, absolutely set the show off on the right tone.
Oh, cool. That's cool. I'm glad that you think that. I was really surprised, to be fair, that he put us on first. But I was actually really happy that he did put us on first, because I think the energy from the audience was at its peak from the start of the show. I mean, we got booyahs. And we was first match on. We got some booyahs and a trade-off. I couldn't believe it. But I think because she was someone that, when she was announced for the show, it was talked about a lot on social media, which means clearly, which I think is understandable, that she is someone that a lot of people in the British indie scene, fans-wise, really appreciate and love to watch, and understand how good she actually is. So I think when she made her entrance, everyone just went crazy, because it's like, oh my gosh, she's here. Like, here she is, the one and only. And so when we had our match, I think people was expecting that technical wrestling match. And I think we gave them that, but at the same time, we did put on a match that had the different styles of wrestling in as well. Like, we had the strikes in there, we had nice running spots and like power moves, like she did like a power bomb and things like that. So we had a mixture of matches. It was a very diverse styled match. But I think the main part of the match was that the technical side of it, as she is a technical specialist. And before, when we was talking, I asked her that all I wanted out of the match was for her to teach me something. That was it. And she was blown away by the fact that I said that to her, that I just want to learn from her. She was taken back from that. So I thought, she's so humble. Like, she doesn't, so when people say that I don't believe how good I am, she doesn't believe how good she is, but look where she is. So I mean, so it's not like it's something that's going to hold you back, I don't think. So it was so nice to be there, and I think the audience felt that we had this great connection together, which is why they were so into the match, because it was a complete different style of matches, as well as honing in on what everybody actually wanted and expected from it. So I think it was a really interesting match.
Definitively as well, right?
Yeah. So I think the reaction of the finish of that match is something that I would never forget. Because I don't think anybody was expecting that. So I think that was something that I will always remember that. I love it. Because I remember looking out and seeing audience members' faces of shock. And I was like, oh my gosh, we haven't.
I'm just gonna say, when we did our predictions contest at the end of the year, I did call the Kanji win. I'm just gonna put that out there. I called the Kanji win.
You cleaned
you
up
wasn't
with
shocked
our
then.
predictions were uprising. You rubbed the floor with me.
But it's one of those things that, even like you said, even when you think something might happen or you want something to happen, when you actually see it or you get it, it's like, yes, it's like that. You still have that same feeling, right? Like,
yeah.
We talked about that last week, didn't we, George? About how you beating Deonna felt cathartic, even though it felt like the logical finish. It felt like you and Mercedes Mone was going to happen, and that was how we were going to have to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still this element of doubt because she's Deonna Purrazzo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of course she can come over and she could beat anybody. They could absolutely do something with Mercedes and Deonna. Like there's no reason why Deonna couldn't come over for high stakes. There's no reason why that couldn't happen in America. So you've just got this little bit of doubt in the back of your mind, and wanting you to win it as much as we did meant that you just got this overwhelming euphoria when it happened.
Yeah.
And it's these are the moments that, as fans, are what make shows completely memorable. Like you won't in a year's time, I won't be able to remember every match that was on the card or every move or every finish, but you'll remember the feeling of the moments that captured it. And you've had a couple of those recently with really big victories, and it's something that we're hoping to get many more of. It's funny how you said that the finish to the Deonna match, you had a moment of seeing everyone's reaction. Surely you've seen online the reaction to your finish to the match with Deonna Purrazzo. The number of, whether it was Hyan or whether it was Will Ospreay or just all these wrestlers that I just see quoting the Graps on Film little video and just being like, oh, the finish to that match was insane. Can't wait to watch it on demand. Like, that must be so satisfying, right?
Yeah. I couldn't believe it, because for a while, I absolutely love the double wrist lock. I love how it looks, and I love how it feels when I have it on. I absolutely love it. And I don't see it often at all. I never see anybody use it. I think I've seen a few people use it as just like a normal hold that you'd put in the beginning of a match. And I love to take something like that and think that could be a finish. Because I remember hearing someone talk, I can't remember who it was, but I heard someone talk, it probably was Styx, saying that you can have anything as a finish as long as you build it right. And that really stuck with me, because I was like, he's right, but I don't know how to make that happen. So when I see the double wrist lock, I said, I think I can make that a finish. And so for a while, I've been putting it on and having it like fully locked in and everything like that. But it's not been getting the reaction that I wanted. And so I spoke to a few different people, like especially Gideon Gray. I spoke to Gideon Gray. I spoke to Chris Ridgway. I've spoken to Styx, Jordan Breaks. I spoke to quite a few of the technical wrestlers on how to make it happen. And they've all told me just stick with it. just keep working it, and then they will like hook onto it. So I've been playing around with different ways and getting into it and out of it, and how to build it certain ways in matches. And then I went and had a play around with Ridgeway at Future Shark on how to put it in, and I had a few people tell me different ways, and I've figured it out of how to get it in looking so smooth, and with the bridge back and everything like that. And as soon as I got it, I was like, that's the finish. That's the one. Like that is it. So that was the story of the double wrist lock. So I'm so happy that it's now like people have recognized that was sick, because even I was like, that is sick. I know it feels weird to say that, because it's like, oh, you're bragging a little bit, but it just felt so right. Do you know what I mean? So for people to stand up and say, you know what, actually, yeah, that's cool. I'm like, oh my God, I did it. Like after all this time, I actually got it. I've done it. So Sticks was right in the end.
I love that. There's some great wrestling technicians you've just talked about there. Like some of my favourite people to watch wrestle.
Yeah.
Yeah, you learn from the best, that's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kanji, you've been really gracious with your time. Really do appreciate it. And as we start to wind down now, I want to dare to dream a little bit here. So I'm going to put a couple of scenarios to you, and would love to hear your thoughts. So obviously we spoke about Steph Vaquer earlier, and she had that match with Mercedes, and the world knew who Steph Vaquer was, not just this little microcosm anymore. And I imagine that match is going to generate a lot of attention for you. So I'd love to know, if that match puts you on the field that we think it will, of notoriety, what do you want to go and achieve from that? And secondly, obviously we know that you're going to win the title. We've said this. So as you walk into night one of the anniversary show as champion, we know it's 2 nights as well. Who would you like to face over the anniversary weekend? And you could have a match for the belt, but also a dream match. And I'm just going to put out there, my dream match in wrestling right now would be Kanji versus Zack Sabre Jr. I'm just putting that out
there. I knew you was going to say that. I knew it. I think it would be Zack. It's scary because I know for a fact that he would absolutely destroy me. But I think that's what you'd want, right? I mean, that when you watch a Zack Sabre Jr. match, that's what you watch for. You watch for him to try and decapitate his opponent. So I think if I was in the ring with him, that's what I'd want to happen. Right? That's the experience of Zack Sabre Jr. But yeah, I don't know if Andy would do it ever. I really don't. And I just think it's hard because a few people have said it, and then I've sat there and thought that I feel like it would be a waste of Zack if he was to come and wrestle me. I just think that's a bit of a self-esteem issue for me, but I do feel like people would be upset at the fact that he's working me and not someone like Ricky or Connor Mills again or something, you know.
I think it would get the complete opposite reaction.
Yeah, same. I was going to say.
I agree. I don't think it will happen in a RevPro ring, purely for the fact that they like the sports orientated divisions, the heavyweight division, the cruiserweight division, the women's division, the tag division. I believe it will happen somewhere.
Yeah.
And when it does happen, I think the reaction you'll get to it will be beyond what you can imagine. I think it will be, there is a lot of people that would love to see that.
Yeah, same.
I was just having a little think about what my Kanji dream match would be, because genuinely I've had 2 in the last 6 months, because one was Deonna Purrazzo and one was Serena Deeb, because I'd love to see you work the best technicians in the world, and there's 2 of them. The one that I've stumbled onto isn't a technician, but someone who I love to watch and who has this incredible ability to always surprise you in the ring. And that is Riho, as in AEW's Riho.
Oh, yeah.
I'd
Okay.
love to see that match. I don't know what it would look like, and that's what probably excites me about it the most. It could be so many different things, but that would be an unbelievable match I'd love to see.
Yeah, Riho is cool. She's so cool. I remember when watching AEW with her quite early on. I thought she was really cool. I like her style and I like how she moves as well.
Her match
I
with
do.
Serena
And she's
Deeb,
very small.
is just there's an iconic match between them. It was Daly's place. I think it might be Double or Nothing. It was on the pre-show and it was outside. You had like the sun setting behind them.
I know the one you're on about.
As they've got this absolutely insane match going on because Serena's tying her up like a pretzel and Riho, being so flexible, is just bending her way out of stuff and then hitting knee strikes that you think, like, how can someone so small pack so much punch? And I remember afterwards just being like, well, this show's a bit fucked now because nothing's going to beat that. Like, you've just
How do they follow up that?
Pre-show like that. You should have put that on in the semi-main or something like that. But yeah, I adored that.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'll have to find that one.
It's so good. It's so good. It was. I'll check which one it was, and I'll send you a message for it later. I think it was Double or Nothing 2020 or 2021 because it was pandemic time. But yeah, I'll find it.
Yeah, I'd like to watch that. Yeah. Thank you.
Amazing. Lovely stuff. Well, Kanji, thank you so much for your time. I really, really do appreciate it. It's been so fun having this chat. The one thing I want to end on is you may be the one person in the entirety of British wrestling that I see everyone band together in agreement on. So you've spoken a lot, obviously, about self-esteem and thinking, why did I get this opportunity? The people are behind you. We all want to see you have these matches and you go out there and put on a great show. So just thank you for what you do and all the entertainment you bring us.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's so sweet. Thank you.
Right then. Well, thank you so much for your time. We're out of here. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me. See ya.
Bye.